Atari is considered by many to be the company that laid the foundation for the home video game industry. But they did not create the first console in the world. That title belongs to the Magnavox Odyssey. Yet, they were the first to turn gaming into a global phenomenon. Let's take a look at the evolution of all Atari consoles. It all began in 1972 when Nolan Bushnell and Ted Dabney founded Atari in Sunnyvale, California. Their first major success was Pong, an arcade version of the tennis game from the Magnavox Odyssey. Pong became a phenomenon, but also the subject of a patent lawsuit filed by Magnavox, which ended with a settlement of $1.5 million for a production license. Thus, in 1975, Atari decided to bring the experience directly into people's living rooms by launching Home Pong. The excellent sales confirmed that the public was ready for a new era of entertainment, the dedicated video game console. Atari paved the way for some of the most influential consoles in history. In 1977, the Atari Video Computer System was released, later renamed the Atari 2600, at a price of $199 equivalent to about $1,000 today. The console came with 2 joysticks, 2 paddle controllers, and the game Combat. Games like Space Invaders helped popularize the console, reaching sales of over 30 million units worldwide. However, poor ports such as Pac-Man and E.T. damaged the company's image, culminating in the video game market crash of 1983. Even so, the Atari 2600 remains one of the most influential consoles in history, pioneering the use of interchangeable cartridges and responsible for bringing gaming into millions of living rooms around the world. In 1979, Atari launched the Atari 400 and the Atari 800. Originally conceived as successors to the 2600 console, they were adapted to ride the personal computer boom. By 1992, the 2 models had sold approximately 4 million units and helped bring computers into households, directly influencing the development of Atari's next console, the 5200. The Atari 5200 Super System was released in 1982 and came bundled with the game Super Breakout. The new console promised superior graphics and a wide color palette. It featured analog controllers equipped with a numeric pad and extra buttons, considered innovative at the time, but heavily criticized for their lack of reliability and precision. On top of that, the price of nearly $300 combined with a relatively limited game library restricted the console's success to only 1 million units sold. As a result, it was pulled from the market in 1984. The failure of the Atari 5200 was not only a commercial disappointment, but also the beginning of a major crisis. Atari had produced millions of excess cartridges for titles like Pac-Man and E.T., which went unsold or were returned by retailers. Hundreds of thousands of these were transported to a landfill in the desert of Alamogordo, New Mexico, and buried under concrete. A story long considered an urban legend, only confirmed in 2014 when a team of documentary filmmakers unearthed the intact cartridges. Total losses exceeded $500 million, the stock of parent company Warner plummeted, and the Atari brand was severely damaged. In Japan, this moment became known as the Atari Shock, a collapse that shook the entire industry, and from which the company would never fully recover. Announced in 1984, the Atari 7800 was designed to win back its lost audience. The console's greatest advantage was its near-complete compatibility with the Atari 2600's game library and accessories. It was an 8-bit console and came with a 2-button controller and a gamepad instead of a joystick for the European version. Bundled with the system was Pole Position 2, a popular title featuring circuits inspired by real-world racetracks. Although it could not compete with Nintendo's dominance, which held over 80% of the market in the mid-1980s, the 7800 hosted some of the best arcade ports of the era and remains regarded as one of Atari's most solid 8-bit consoles. It managed to sell over 3.8 million units. Released in 1987, the Xegs was Atari's last 8-bit console, essentially a reconfigured version of the 65XE personal computer. It was compatible with a wide range of peripherals, including the Xegs keyboard, the CX40 joystick, and the XG1 light gun, offering a level of flexibility rarely seen at the time. Launched in the early 1990s, the Atari Lynx was the world's first handheld console with a color LCD screen and Atari's first step into the handheld market. It was a hybrid 8 and 16-bit system with unique graphical capabilities, including sprite zooming and distortion, a first in the video game industry. Its color screen was backlit, and its ambidextrous design allowed use by both right and left-handed players. In 1990, the Lynx sold roughly 500,000 units in the United States alone. However, its high price and short battery life prevented it from surpassing the success of the Game Boy. Thus, in 1991, Atari released the Lynx II, a smaller and lighter version of the original console, featuring improved performance, better battery life, a higher quality screen, and a lower price. Launched in November 1993, the Atari Jaguar was marketed as the world's first 64-bit console, in an era dominated by 16 and 32-bit systems such as the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Sony PlayStation, and Sega Saturn. In reality, the Jaguar used two 32-bit processors, and the company's marketing labeled it 64-bit, a classification that was and remains controversial. From a technical standpoint, the console was impressive for its time, offering titles such as Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, Alien vs. Predator, and other games that have since become classics. However, its limited game library and development challenges led to sales of fewer than 150,000 units. In 1995, Atari attempted to extend the console's lifespan with the Jaguar CD add-on, which brought 13 additional titles and one more year of activity, but without significant results. By 1996, production and development for the Jaguar had ceased, effectively marking the end of Atari's presence in the home console market. Although the company had once been a pioneer of the industry, the torch had long been passed to Nintendo and Sega. In 2004, Atari made its first attempt to revive its consoles by releasing the Atari Flashback, a plug-and-play system with a design inspired by the Atari 7800. Priced at approximately $45 US, it came with 20 built-in games, and managed to sell around 500,000 units in the United States. The second attempt was the Atari Flashback 2, which offered 40 built-in games. The Flashback 2 launched at about $30 US and enjoyed greater success, selling roughly 860,000 units in the United States. After several attempts, in 2019, the Atari Flashback X was released, a mini replica of the Atari 2600 console with 110 built-in games. It came with two included controllers and modern features such as HDMI output and firmware update capability for adding new games. Released in 2020, the Atari VCS is a modern micro-console inspired by the classic design of the Atari 2600, marking an attempt to bring the brand back into the console market after a gap of more than 2 decades. The VCS runs on Atari OS, a Linux-based operating system that allows users to download and play both preloaded classic Atari games and low-spec PC titles. However, the Atari VCS did not achieve commercial success. Its small library of modern games, modest performance, and strong competition from other platforms led to it being seen more as a curiosity for collectors than a real alternative to established consoles. In 2023, the Flashback 12 Gold was released, a plug-and-play console that comes with 2 wired joystick controllers, 2 paddle controllers, and 130 pre-installed games. Also in 2023, the Atari 2600 Plus, a replica of the 2600, was released, which is 20% smaller. The new 2600 Plus includes support for the original Atari 2600 and 7800 cartridges. The Atari 7800 also received a replica in 2024, the 7800 Plus. It is smaller and has similar features to the Atari 2600 Plus. Atari has gone through legendary successes and painful downfalls, but each console tells part of the story that laid the foundation for gaming. Regardless of failures or triumphs, the name Atari will forever remain synonymous with the beginnings of video games. If you enjoyed this kind of video, make sure to subscribe to our channel, and if you give us a like and leave a comment, it really helps us out. Thank you.